Okay, folks. So I normally don't do these live videos, and this is totally unscripted. It's basically just rant because I have been grading student essays today, and it has made me want to rant. Now, the thing I'm going to rant about is not something that any of my students said in their essays today. But sometimes, as I am between essays, I'll just look at popular things on the internet about the Middle Ages. And several times today, I've seen an old thing come up that we see over and over again, which is the question about, did medieval peasants work less than people today? And you'll see these arguments all the time from people, usually with a kind of Marxist bent, sometimes scholars with a Marxist bent, which is embarrassing for them, and they should be ashamed of themselves. But basically, it's, oh, in modern capitalist society is so bad because of church holidays. Medieval peasants barely had to work at all. They only were, a third of the time they had off. Is this true? Well, the only way that you can say that is if you're so utterly ignorant of agrarian life. Like, this is not something that anyone who's ever lived in farm country would ever believe is even possible. So right now you might be thinking, well, no, maybe it is. Maybe they didn't have to work on church holidays. Well, let's stop right there. So first of all, the church did have holidays, but it depends on what you mean by work. So today, most people leave their home and they go to some big box like my office here or your factory or what have you, and they work there, and then that's when they're working, and then they leave and then they're no longer working. That's not how farm life is. That's not how it was for peasants, right? So they're not going somewhere in particular necessarily. They're certainly not going into some box to work. So that's not what that's talking about. And on top of that, it shows a remarkable ignorance of basically where your food comes from every day. So let's imagine for one moment that this is true. Let's imagine that medieval peasants don't have to work a third of the year. During that third of the year, are the animals starving? Are are the cows getting milked? Are the basic things that you just have to do to keep up your life in this kind of agrarian world, uh, or even in our modern farming world, to be honest, are those things not happening? Of course they're happening. Of course they're happening. And so it wasn't like, well, today is a holiday, so we don't feed the animals, was the case. That's still work. And it's not work like it is to feed your cat, right? It's actual labor. It just means that you don't go do certain kinds of work in the field. They were still working in ways that most of us would not work on our holidays because we live in an industrial society, because we live in a modern capitalist society. So if you're, and frankly, if you're a medieval scholar, I will not say anything more insulting than to say it's embarrassing that you understand so little about how agrarian life works. Things still have to get done. You can't shut down for the weekend. You still got to you still got to feed the animals. You still have to take care of them. You still have to take care of certain other kinds of things, even with plant life. Any farmer who works with plants knows that this is the case. So did medieval peasants work less than you? No, they worked more than you do. You're welcome for living in the 21st century.